Because there's a lot of stuff online that we see that people talk about real estate that we know 100% is not true.
Right.
It's just like in your business, you could read through someone saying something in your industry that's not accurate. That's not the way it's done. Well, if you do real estate, 200 different closings and 43 different companies, you can read through right away and go, well, that's not accurate. That's not exactly how it's done. And it's awesome. So you got to be careful. But I would say it was someone that's done it multiple times. You can verify that they've done exactly what you want to be.
I mean, the influence of social media, but like when you're watching short form content, you can watch it and you go, gosh, that guy's the guru, or he's got this figured out, he's got that figured out. But what we've done is like, we'll try and find them in long form, or we'll actually go to some of their seminars just to see exactly what's there. A lot of times we'll leave the long form content, or we'll leave one of those seminars and you go, hey, I guess we ain't such big dummies anyways. We kind of got it figured out, and there is no tricks to anything. It's just really digging in to find the people that have done the things that you want to be doing. And that's huge.
And at the same time, there's no silver bullet, man. There's no, we can't, coaching is not giving someone a roadmap, like take this turn, do this, and then you'll get into the financial independence. It's a flowing situation. We can give you a head north, but you still got to take your own path.
This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hello, Team PYP. Mary Lou Kaiser here. Welcome to today's episode of the Play Your Position podcast. I have a special treat for you today. First of all, it is game day here at PYP. And for those of you who've been listening for a while, you know what that means. I've got not one, but two amazing guests suited up and ready to take the field. They are going to take us into their leadership journey and what it means for all of us. Their names are... They go by Mike&Bo, so I'm just going to say that right now. Mike&Bo, are you guys ready for kickoff?
We're ready for kickoff.
So team, this is a first for a long time, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. So let me share with you some details about Mike&Bo. Mike Merrigan and Bo Kort are best friends, business partners, and real estate moguls. Over the past 30 years, they have acquired hundreds of properties and built over 43 companies. Now they want to teach others how two small-town guys from Arizona did it and how you can too. Are you fed up with the typical financial freedom gurus out there? Mike&Bo are the breath of fresh air you've been so desperately needing. And I know we're going to have a lot of fun today, guys. And team, they are coming to us today from the state of Arizona, and I'm sure they'll weave in some stories about that part of the world. But first, guys, tell us your story, your leadership story. When did you get the call to leadership? What was going on in your lives? Were you young? Were you in your 20s, 30s? Where were you in life? And how has answering that call led to all the amazing things you've done since then and what you're doing today?
I would say at a young age, obviously through athletics and playing sports from the time I was a youngster to playing college basketball, I just always had earned a lot of people's respect by my work ethic. And then, becoming from captain of the football team to captain of the basketball team, and just always didn't push myself in that direction, just kind of elevated. Mike and I always say the cream comes to the top. And so it kind of happened for me in my youth, playing sports. And then whenever I got into business, I realized what the huge correlation in business and culture within your company goes back to playing athletics and sports. From having team meetings with my guys and realizing, hey, this isn't much different than playing college basketball. That we're all on the same team, we're all chasing the same football. It's we're after the same goals, and realizing that through culture you can really motivate people. And it's not just for the best of the company, but it's for the best of the people that are around you too. And whenever you do have that positive, culture within a company, it does a hell of a lot better than it does when you don't, and I've been around companies that don't, and you realize that we got something special in the companies that we own because culture and experience. And then it relates also to our customers, our clientele that we deal with, bring the most value every day to every business that we're involved in.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, what about you?
I think leadership, the way I've, like what Bo said, cream coming to the top. So I've never not been in a leadership position. There's 4 siblings. I'm not the oldest. But even at I think I was 16, my parents came to me and said, hey, we want you to be the executor of the will. I go, why not my older brother? He goes, we want you.
Oh, interesting.
So it started out young. And my first job, I was in a kitchen. And there was an opportunity to always move up if you wanted it. And so I did. And I was at a very young age, and I was hiring and firing people at a super young age because they allowed you to, if you're a leader, to go in that position. And what I've realized going through life is most people are looking for a leader and they don't want to be a leader. And leaders just kind of come to the top. So it's if you're a natural leader, you're going to be making decisions because people in that group, whatever it is, most people don't want to lead. They don't want the responsibility, the headaches, whatever it is. But I've never had a problem with leading. It's just been a natural thing for me. So having multiple businesses, my last job was when I was 18 years old, and we have 43 different companies. So I don't know. There's just employees are looking for leaders. Everyone's looking for a leader. And it's always been a good fit for me to step into that position. So I've always felt comfortable with it.
Okay. I want to explore that just a little bit. You said that your experience, Mike, has been, and Bo, this might be yours as well, being in sports. Certainly there are people who just don't want that responsibility. You use that word. Why do you think that is? Because this is a podcast ultimately about leadership, especially in the modern age where so much has happened so fast. All of us have experienced this amazing rocket ship ride with the rise of the internet and then all I use the word tendrils that, you guys have been able to do what you've done. I'm guessing partly because of all the shifts that have happened in the last 20, 25 years. And yet with the advent of all these opportunities, people, you're saying, are still shying away from leadership. Why do you think that is? And either of you or both of you can answer that.
Well, my thing is, it's an easier life. I mean, when you're a leader, you take responsibilities, and sometimes you lose your head because of it, right? I mean, the leaders take the hit, and it's an easier life to not be a leader. I wish I wasn't, sometimes.
Really?
But I don't know another way. So I'm glad I am. But I just think most people are employees and not the owner. And I don't really know why, but I feel like leadership is a special position. It can be taught, and I have taught people to be leaders, but it's a lot of work. And the ones that are naturals are a lot easier to teach than ones that aren't.
I think most people are afraid of the failure.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You don't necessarily die, you know, and you learn a lot of lessons from failures or, you know, and I think a lot of people are just afraid of that. They're afraid of making the call and being wrong. And I think a true leader is shows through those failures, how they navigate through them.
Okay. I like that. So let's take your friendship. You've been friends for a long time, and it's clear that you have good synergy between you. How do you leverage each other's strengths to lead and build 43 companies, which is quite remarkable?
I already know what you're going to say.
Honestly, I think in that situation is part of being a leader is being self-aware. And so when we have multiple partners in several different companies, and there's always someone that's better at something, and we were with a group of people, and we build on that group of people that are willing to take the second position when it's time. And so Bo's much better at personal negotiation. There's a lot of skills he has that I don't. And I'm just fortunate to have him when that time comes, and he's willing to, let me take the lead when he thinks it's better for the company that way. So it's, you got to be self-aware and let other people take the position when it's needed.
And not be afraid to stand down.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about ego. It's about getting the job done, going after the same football, winning the game. And so it's, when you're working together and you're going after the same football, it's a lot easier to go, okay, this is what's best for the team. Let's do this, and step down and let someone else play.
All right. How did you come to the decision that, hey, we're going to do this together? Because there's a lot of stories out there about people going into business with friends that end in tragedy, let's be honest. And yet you guys have been able to maintain not only a friendship, but you have successfully built a lot of companies together. How do you overcome the natural human tendencies to sometimes get sick of each other? Or do you just, get along so well that never comes up?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for us, we were probably best friends for 15 years before we actually truly did business together and partner. We partnered on a few small things here and there. And then we just kind of dabbled in becoming partners and trying some things out and buying some real estate together, and just realized that it's a good fit. A big part of it is Mike is truly a good one at standing down on things, or doesn't have to have it his way. And he really coaches up even our partners on staying humble, staying disciplined and persistent, but knowing how to stand down and not always have his way. He probably stands down more than he should. Because there's sometimes when he stands down and then he'll come back and say something about it. I'm like, why didn't you say something before? But he's like, well, I don't always have to have it my way. And it's a good thing, but sometimes you can stand down too much. But there are, I think that's been the secret to our success. Mike's brother is also a big business partner of ours in a bunch of real estate. And he's the same way. He doesn't always have to have it his way. Doesn't think that he knows all. And we hear each other out.
And the other thing is we were already in business with other business, and we've had the experience. So we were seasoned and not had, grandeurs of vision. They're like, hey, you're going to open up this business and all become millionaires right away. We knew it was a grind because we'd already been grinding. So if we just put our powers together, and we already had, we didn't have unreasonable expectations of the businesses we were opening, things we were doing. We knew it was a lot of work, and his work ethic is better than anybody I've ever met. And so it's like getting together with someone that you've already known for so many years. You kind of know what you're getting. And we, philosophy as far as business and taking customers come first, and taking care of employees, and not letting greed ever come in, and being humble. He had those same things. I had them. So we only partner with people with those like-minded personalities, and we get to know them before we do partnership. But then we do build partnerships, and that's allowed us to scale our businesses and buy as much real estate and businesses that we have.
Okay. Are all your businesses in the real estate sector, or have you branched into other categories?
No, we own a multitude of different businesses. We're partners in Houston Motorsports. Got a fantastic partner in that business. We own 5 different locations. Mike owns furniture stores. I own a swimming pool company. We partnered on a swimming pool construction company in Houston. We've got a large fabrication company. We got a specialty company. We've got a ton of different companies. Yeah.
Wow. So again, I think listeners would be interested, because I'm interested in what it was the evolution of this portfolio that you've built. What can you pass on to listeners about that goes against this whole financial freedom stuff that's all over the internet? How have you guys done that?
What we've believed in is we love being in business. So our goal was, and it works for a person that has a job, a W-2 employee. Thing is, what we do is try to maximize profits from the businesses we have, live below our means, take those profits from those companies and put it into real estate and keep it long-term. We only buy real estate we can buy under value. We only buy real estate that cash flows, and we do it again and again and again. So it's a formula that works really well. And even if you have a job and you buy real estate, you're going to win in the long run. So that's what we teach. And we teach how to identify undervalued properties and only buy properties that cash flow.
And so that allowed you then to go buy companies in other sectors eventually. Because the Houston Motorsports, that's not real estate per se.
Yeah. No. But
right?
we own the property, and we have another company that owns the land underneath all the dealerships.
Oh, okay.
So we always have a real estate play, or at least always make sure we try to have a real estate play in every single thing we do. Because the real estate, at the end of the day, that's where the money is.
Okay. So that for me is the big takeaway, is that even though they're in different categories, what holds them all together is the real estate angle. You have the land. You
Absolutely.
have the land.
And so we can always sell the dealerships or whatever business we have as long as we own the land underneath and we're still getting paid.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing you said, Mike, that's I think really important is that you love business. You love business. It wasn't, just got a, wild hair and decided, hey, let's go into real estate. I mean, it sounds like you were both independent, working on other things. And then I'm curious,
absolutely.
How old were you when you became friends?
Well, Mike's a few years older than me, but he was, my dad was an entrepreneur on a small scale in our local community, and he was in the Rotary Club. So the Rotary Club not to categorize it, but usually it's the older guys that are
Yep.
vested in and then they've got the time to put into the community and do the charitable events and this and that. Well, Mike was like 18 years old,
19 when I
19 years old, and he's in the Rotary Club with my dad and all of his buddies. So he's in there with all these old cats. I'm like, what? So my dad, Mike's got another younger brother that was my age that we went to school together. So I knew of Mike, and I knew that he was in business and entrepreneur. And at a young age, I knew that I wanted to do some of those same things. So I remember looking at him whenever I was a kid and just being like, Dad, who is that guy? And what does he do? You know, well, he owns video stores, and then he owns some laundromats, and he owns a car wash. But Mike was grinding at a young age doing those sort of things. So he was always trying to level himself up by, surrounding himself with good people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you were watching.
I was watching. I think I was like 14.
Yeah. No, I like that story because it, again, with the internet and all the stuff that's in our face all the time, and it's hard, I think, especially for people who are the age you were then, young people in their teens who might have the entrepreneurial bug. You mentioned Rotary. We tend to forget that these organizations can play a big role in not only shaping the members, but the people who are affiliated with the members, like your dad was, Bo. So I thank you for sharing that. I don't know if anybody's ever brought up Rotary on here, but it's a great leadership organization. Absolutely. It really, really is. And they do a lot of good philanthropic stuff. So, okay, here you guys are today. You're sitting on 43 companies. You love business. You love real estate. What is going on in real estate right now? And what are some opportunities for any listeners who might either be curious about it or maybe know somebody who's saying, hey, we're thinking about getting into real estate? What's going on out there?
I look at real estate. You can look at it like business. And some people say, oh, well, that business isn't a good business to get into because of this, this, and this. We always try and find the business, what we can bring change to, the edge that we're going to have in that business or in real estate. And I think that our edge is we are cowboys from a small community, didn't have the best education, and we're grinding and entrepreneurs from the get. So we didn't actually have a huge network other than like Mike going to Rotary and stuff. So we only know what we know. And in real estate for us, the edge that we have is a lot of people will go, well, everything's overpriced now. Flipping homes is this and this. We are the type of guys that we go find old buildings in industrial neighborhoods, knock on the doors of those buildings and buy them from the old guys that have owned them for 30, 40 years and they just get tired. And, or we'll end up buying them. The old guy will pass, or the old husband and wife will pass, and they'll pass it down to their kids, and they don't have the same aspirations to own the real estate. So we end up coming in and buying from them. So we find an edge, whether it's in business or real estate. So real estate's great. It's great today. It was great before. Yeah. Interest rates are up. Things are changing a little bit. But if you really get to the lower grade level of buying real estate, like what we have, you're just out there knocking on doors. So, like I have family members going, hey, we want to buy real estate like what you and Mike do. But I just can't find any deals. Well, if you're looking on Zillow or you're looking on LoopNet or Crexy to try and find the real estate deals, well, if they're listed, a lot of times they're not a great deal. So we end up having our own network way of just knocking on doors and reaching out to dilapidated properties and try and acquire them.
Right. Our thing is the 3Ds. So it's properties we look at are involved either in death, divorce, or distressed properties. Oh. And the distressed properties, when you drive around, the thing is there's interest rates are always going to go up and they're always going to go down, then they're going to go back up. But real estate, you're never going to time the market. And so it's always the time to buy real estate. So if you can find undervalued real estate, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is, you're buying it undervalued, and we only buy properties that cash flow. So it's, you got to knock on more doors. You got to work harder. It's always hard, but it was never easy. So
we get a ton of no's.
Yeah.
We get no's all the time.
We bought in 43 different storage complexes, and I'm going to say half of them were just from knocking on doors and meeting old guys and building relationships and taking 2 years to buy or 3 years to buy. But we build up a relationship and they come back and they sell them to us when they're ready at the price that they want. So,
okay.
It's just being persistent, being disciplined, and never giving up. And we don't take no for an answer. No means maybe later.
Right. Right. And
So-
you've mentioned knocking on doors several times, which requires getting out of your chair and away from your
Yes.
screen.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
again, I like that you're painting a picture of reality, that you're hustling, you're grinding, but you love what you do, and you don't let one no sink your ship.
We get
Right.
so many no's, it's not even funny. So
What would you
Yeah.
say
No's
your
from-
ratio is? No's to yeses.
Oh, I would say 80-1.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just, you got
I mean, it's
yeah.
really that way. This guy and I, we would get, and even him and his brother did it before we got to becoming partners, but they get in the truck, drive. His brother lives in Texas, Houston area, and we own a lot of real estate in the Houston area. But he'd pick us up from the airport. I got my notepad and pencil.
Look at buildings.
We drive around till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning,
looking for distressed
properties, writing down the addresses, going back to the office,
Doing
either
the
that
homework.
night or the next morning, do all of our homework, and then making phone calls and then stopping back by those places and developing relationships to buy real estate.
And it's what
Okay.
most people won't do. You know, most people want to call a realtor. And not that we have multiple realtors that are out there working for us because we close on deals and they know what we're looking for. And since we've closed on so many deals, we're an easy sell. So if they come across something off market, they come to us first before they even list it. So we've got an advantage that way now. But it took a long time to get that advantage, to get that edge.
Yeah. And again, the key word here is relationships, that you're
Yes.
willing to take the time to get to know the person. You're not just coming in and pouncing on the guy or the gal.
Yes.
And it can take 2 to 3 years. And so I'd love for you to talk about 3 untruths about real estate that you wish everybody knew.
You're not getting rich quick.
You're not
No
getting
matter-
rich quick. Yeah,
That's the number one.
exactly.
It's a long haul, you know, but anything that's worth doing is a long haul. And everyone today is looking for the rich, get rich quick. If that's it, don't contact us because we got nothing for you. So number one is it takes time.
Okay. What's number 2?
I would say the thing is people have the conception that, I'm going to quit my job and do real estate.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
like Mike said, it is a long game. So we've bought millions of dollars worth of property that you actually have. Maybe the first year that we bought it, we didn't cash flow. You know, we had to fix it up. We had to do all of these things. So like Mike stated earlier, you've got to have that business, that source of income, or you got to have that W-2 job and that source of income to be able to feed your family and give you all the needs that your family and you desire. But at the same time, still be able to run at the real estate. I mean, there's so many deals. When we first started doing deals together, I got a story where Mike came to me for the first deal on a building, and it was like, hey, we're all going to throw in $20,000. We're going to buy this building. We're going to fix it up. We're going to lease it out. Then we're going to take it back and get it refinanced. So I was like, okay, well, when will I get my 20 grand back? Like when we refinance it? Well, I've never seen that 20. It's
We
been gone
reinvested in more
years and
properties.
years ago. And the reason why is because I didn't need it. I used it for investment. And
Uh-huh.
a lot of people have that conception that they're going to have a paycheck every week off of the real estate. And it doesn't work like that. At some point in time, that's the objective. But today in your younger years, do you really need that money?
No.
I'm thinking I need it whenever I'm 55, 60, 65, 70 years old. And then I'll have the freedom and all the options that money will provide me.
Okay. So that's another untruth. What's number 3?
Another one is people think they don't have enough money. So they'll tell us, oh, don't have enough money to get into real estate. But it takes a lot less than what people think. You just got to look at the smaller pieces of property, smaller duplex, a smaller situation, something more affordable. But it doesn't take, if you got enough money to buy a car, you got enough money to buy real estate.
Yes.
Okay.
So it doesn't take as much as you think to get started. The thing is, people don't get started out of fear, and they don't get started because they think they don't have enough money, and they just don't know how to do it. So that's one thing we do, is just teach them how to get started. But the main thing is you just take action, figure it out.
Right. Would you say that that's how you've learned best, is just getting out
Yes.
there, boots on the ground?
We made so many mistakes.
Absolutely. But that's
Yeah.
why we're good coaches too. And we have people that have really been able to prosper because they're not going to make the same mistakes we made. And we made so many mistakes, but you do the same thing over and over. We've closed on probably over 200 pieces of property. And so now we know how to do it. We know how to identify it. We make sure we're picky about the ones we buy, the ones we say yes to, and we know how to find them.
Yeah. We've helped multiple people actually do the same exact thing that what we have. And the
Absolutely.
reason why is because we don't teach from theory. We didn't read books to get the
Yes.
knowledge. School of hard knocks.
Yeah.
We made a lot of mistakes and learned from those mistakes, and we've gotten better and better over the years. So, it just gets easier the more that you do something.
Right.
It's halftime here at the Play Your Position podcast, and we've got ourselves a great game. While you're up grabbing another snack and topping off your favorite beverage, make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss another play. PYP is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever great podcasts can be found. Now, let's get back to the game.
And it's neat that you want to pass on to others what you've learned and give others a chance. You know, that's abundant mindset thinking, right? That there's plenty for everybody. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, so you're going after the 3Ds. And I liked that framing. There's death, divorce, and distress. Those are ways to identify a potential opportunity. So what happens, or I mean, I know this is very philosophical, but is there ever going to be a time when there won't be any distressed property? Certainly death and divorce will always happen, but
it is crazy how much is out there of these
really
older gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen that own these properties. It's almost every property. There's an old person behind it because you're not trying to buy a piece of real estate from a 21-year-old kid an old building because he doesn't own it. It's an 81-year-old guy that spent 40 years in there and he's emotionally attached to him and he wants to know that he's handing it over to someone and it's not about the money anymore.
Right.
It's about what he built. And then we find buildings that are abandoned because the old guy can't go to work anymore, whether it was a tire shop, a plumbing company, whatever. So they're barely even using the buildings or can't take care of them anymore. So that's why they're easy to identify. But there's a story of an old guy that owns it behind it most of the time.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And then usually the husband has passed. Now you're dealing with the wife, or the husband and wife have passed. Now we're dealing with the kids. They're less attached to it. They just want the check. So that happens all the time. But we just try to be totally respectful because we get approached, having that much property, we get approached almost on a daily basis. Someone wanted to buy our property. So we know how people approach people. We do it different. We actually come, like where we're standing, we would come into this office, say, hey, is the owner there? Can I have a chance to meet him? I noticed they own a building down the street. Can I talk to him? And then, chit chat, nice person. And no, we're not interested in selling. Well, I really love that property. I'm going to come back next year. Okay. And if that person came back for 4 years, our life might change. And now we got a buyer. So that's how it happens. We're just real patient with the people we're trying to buy from. And we're always working a lot of deals. So when we don't get it, hey, no problem. We'll be back.
Right. Because you have other stuff going on.
Yeah.
You didn't hit,
But it isn't just, I went and talked to 10 people and they all said no. So I guess that just doesn't work here. It works. Yeah. There's old people owning a bunch of stuff that don't want it anymore everywhere.
Okay. So do you focus mostly on your relative? You mentioned you have a lot in Houston. Are you mostly in Texas and Arizona, or have you gone national? Do you think it's best to stay, for someone who might be interested in doing what you've done, stay in your general region, or do you have folks 100%. Who are all over the place?
Get started by,
be local.
Says, be local.
Okay.
Draw a 5 or 10 mile circle around where you're at and then start there.
Get good there. Because it's so expensive. We do have properties in other states and it requires, multiple flights to get there and things like that. And it adds a huge expense, especially when you're buying distressed properties, because no one's going to work on the property once you do hire the contractor the way if they're in your neighborhood. So learn your area. You already know, if you live in that area, you know what the area is growing and what's not, and where people want to live and where they don't, where people want to do business. So it's a local thing. Get good in your area before you expand.
Okay. All right. So you were talking a little bit about it doesn't take as much money as people think. Talk about the funding aspect of getting started in this. What are some tips that you have for folks who say, I don't have the money, and you say, actually, you probably do, or you can find it?
It goes from extreme cases where we coach these couple guys, but why don't you tell them about our buddies that...
I was just thinking about them right away. Joey and Jesse. We got a couple of brothers that we've been coaching for probably, 8 or 9 months now. Yeah. And they have their 9-to-5 jobs that they're working, and they've been investing a little bit into multifamily. So a couple of duplexes and
single family also.
Yeah, single family homes also. But what those guys did was... they were coming to us and they're like, hey, I love you guys' story about how you guys bought 43 different storage complexes. And our first one that we bought was like $85,000.
Yeah, it was
hardly any money out of pocket.
It was abandoned.
And so they got back with us. Hey, we found one. I said, all right, well, who you dealing with? We're dealing with the realtor. I said, all right, well, do whatever you can to try and set an appointment to go walk the property with a realtor, but get the owner there at the same time. Just because you guys are good young guys, you're hustlers, and old guys like to sell to somebody that is a hustler and loves the buildings and loves real estate like what you guys do. So you may be able to negotiate a deal where it's an owner carry, and it wouldn't be quite as much money out of pocket rather than just being hard set on, oh, I got to go get a bank loan. And so I got to go put 40,000 down or 50,000 down, and you may not have it at that time. After coaching them, long story short, they ended up buying their first storage facility. They got an owner carry deal and they did the bank. And what they did was their down payment, they got the owner to carry it.
He ended up liking them so much.
Yeah. So they got a loan. So say it was a couple $100,000 for the building. They got a loan from their local community bank for the major portion of it. So that guy that owned the property got a large sum down. So I don't know the exact number, but let's say that it was $150,000 down, and they were supposed to put $50,000 down through the bank. And the owner liked them so much, he said, I'll tell you what, don't give me any money down. I'll carry the $50,000. You guys can pay me back over a period of time. And then at some point, if you want to pay me off, you can. So they ended up buying their first real estate deal in self-storage with zero money out of pocket.
Okay.
But I was just going to say, there's a lot of people think, okay, what's an owner carry? How does it work? Thinking that everything is chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. And it's not like that. I mean, it gets a little bit, just working a deal with somebody and figuring out what works for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll get some people, we had an 83-year-old guy in here the other day. We bought his 8-plex from him, and we had to talk him into taking $50,000 down. I mean, he was, hey, I trust you guys. Yeah. You guys like real estate. I love real estate. I love coming in and talking to you. And
a lot of those little guys don't need the money. They've already made their money. So the down payment's not the huge thing for them. So you can negotiate the amount of a down, to a smaller portion when you're dealing owner carry.
Okay. That was my question, is what's in it for the seller? What are they gaining?
Less tax exposure, like Mike said. So all of a sudden you sell something for $200,000, you're paying, 35% to the government. Okay. Well, if you end up giving them, if they carry the note and you're going to make payments to them for the next 15 or 20 years or whatever it might be, they're only going to pay taxes on whatever money they receive at that time. So if it's $25,000 or $50,000 down, they're going to pay taxes. So a lot of people don't like paying that chunk right up front. And then
a lot of people like a monthly payment, because again, we find it all the time. People get into their 80s. It's not like they're going to go buy a Ferrari. They've bought everything they're ever going to buy, right? I mean, other than noodle soup. I mean, they've already bought everything they're ever going to buy. So now all they need is a monthly income coming in. So it works for them a lot of times. And a lot of times they're not aware that it can be done that way. So one thing about business owners that own their buildings that we end up buying, they don't do a lot of transactions, real estate transactions throughout their life. They've bought 1 or 2 buildings and a home maybe, and now they have this building. So they're not like real estate, gurus that know everything about real estate. And they go, how do I get rid of this? They don't even want to talk to realtors sometimes. It's like talking to used car salesmen. So we find a lot of similar type situations. They're all different, but there's a lot of similarities in them where they've already made their money. So that's not the most important thing. A lot of them fall in love with their buildings. So you got to be real respectful of that. So they like to know that we refurbish them all, and put a good business back in it. So we find people enjoy that about us. And we're just totally brutally honest what we're going to do with their building and how we can pay them and why we can pay this amount and why we can't pay the other amount because we have to cash flow or we can't close on it. So, and we never get upset with someone when we don't get the building. So it's okay. We'll work on another one and we'll be back later. So it's always it's more casual and more friendly. And we do love real estate and we love talking to those people, and it's all good, and when they don't buy it, hey, we had a nice conversation. We'll be back.
Yeah. Wow. You just taught me something. It makes complete sense about the tax piece of not wanting to get a big payout because all of a sudden you got to report that. And
yes. The other way to get into real estate is through partnerships. So you find a really good deal. Like we've had people all the time, or a lot of people have said, well, I can't find the financing for this deal. Well, it just means the deal wasn't good enough. Because if you've got a great deal, you can DM us. And if you can't close on it, we'll partner with you. I mean, literally, we have people do that. So it's if you have a great deal, you're going to be able to find a partnership that works out. It could be an uncle. I always say, keep it close in the family. It might be a brother or an uncle or a dad or anybody that goes, wow, I see that something you found that's 500,000. It looks like it's worth about 650, but this person is going to sell it for this and it's going to cash flow. And this is our exit strategy. And this is this is how much it's going to cost to fix up. And you have all your paperwork and you're organized and you're a good person already. It's not hard to find a partner as long as it's, you're already a good person and doing the right thing and got a track record of being a good person, even if you're new to real estate.
Sure. And having all your documentation, like you just said. And these are the kinds of things that you coach people on, yes, in your in your work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And how to get that information. And it's basically just be around people that are in real estate. Rather, it's a real estate agent. You've got to build those relationships up so that you have those people working for you. And everyone, if you think about it, you've got a relative that does some real estate. They own a couple fourplexes, they own something. You need to spend time around those people. And even if you got to pay money to be around people that are doing something you want to do, even in the sports. And hey, Tiger Woods hired a coach, right? He's
Yes.
Tiger Woods. He still had a putting coach or whatever he hired. So every NFL team needs a coach, right? So people getting started in a business, now it's real popular that people will pay for coaching. And that's what we do. We help them build their wealth.
Right. So who do you pay to coach you to?
Actually, we have done it multiple times.
Yeah.
We've had several different people we've paid money to surround ourselves around and learn from them and try to level up. So it's, back in the day, people didn't really do that as much, but it's more common now it's what we talk about, it's a time machine. The amount of time you're going to take to learn everything that person can teach you really quick. You're getting a head start, right? So.
Yeah. So for people, just in general, because let's take the wide angle lens here. Coaching is an important piece. It's what you do. You were talking earlier, Bo, about you had made a lot of mistakes. You've learned the hard way. Not everything has gone according to plan. I like to use the analogy of a coach of a football team. That they map out all the X's and O's and they get out on the field and it's -17 with wind chill. And you're from Miami. That just happened in Kansas City a couple weekends ago, right? Anybody who watched that game, there are factors that come into play. There are variables that no amount of planning can override, that you're going to have to just learn as you go. So when looking for a good coach, somebody who's going to lead you towards that thing you want, right? Whether you want to call it a goal or a big vision, it doesn't matter. What do you guys recommend? What should somebody look for?
Somebody that's done it multiple times and didn't just get from a book. You got to verify that they literally have done it multiple times. And it's because there's a lot of stuff online that we see that people talk about real estate that we know 100% is not true.
Right.
Wow.
So, and you, just like in your business, you could read through someone saying something in your industry that's not accurate. That's not the way it's done. Well, if you do real estate, 200 different closings and 43 different companies, you can read through right away, go, well, that's not accurate. That's not exactly how it's done. And it's awesome. So you got to be careful. But I would say it was someone that's done it multiple times. You can verify that they've done exactly what you want to be. And
we watch, social media, the influence of social media, but like when you're watching short form content, you can watch it and you go, gosh, that guy's the guru, or he's got this figured out. He's got that figured out. But what we've done is like, we'll try and find them in long form, or we'll actually go to some of their seminars just to see exactly what's there. A lot of times we'll leave the long form content, or we'll leave one of those seminars and you go, I guess we ain't such big dummies anyways. We kind of got it figured out, and there is no, there's no tricks to anything. It's just really digging in to find the people that have done the things that you want to be doing. And that's huge.
Yeah. And at the same time, there's no silver bullet, man. There's no, we can't, coaching is not giving someone a roadmap, like take this turn, do this, and then you'll get the financial independence. It's a flowing situation. We can give you a head north, but you still got to take your own path.
Right.
So you got to figure it out on your own. And then you got to be that type of person. And it's not for everybody. I'll say that right now. Being in business and being in real estate is not for everyone because there's risk involved.
Sure. There's, you guys you're so passionate about what you do, and that comes across so clearly. And you also are extremely transparent about the fact that this didn't happen for you overnight. Real estate is one of many paths to generating wealth, and it just so happens to be the path that you love and have done well in. But it didn't happen overnight, and you've been putting in the hours. You've had a lot of no's and you've had to wait, which, Bo, you're talking about social media. There's so much of that instant gratification, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors it's easy to create an illusion of something, and it seems so compelling, especially for somebody who, if you think about the two of you, when you were 14 and 18 and just getting started, the world wasn't like it is today. There wasn't YouTube with a gazillion videos in your face all the time. There wasn't an endless scroll of Instagram with guru after guru promoting untruths, right?
Yeah.
So as we're coming up to the end here, for people listening, are there a couple of questions that if someone, obviously they're listening to you guys are the real deal, but I think in general, it's good what kinds of questions did you ask when you were looking for coaches, whether it was a business coach or you were working with, maybe you hired a real estate coach? You don't have to name names. How does somebody approach finding the gold in the big, mountain, so they know they're getting a good coach?
Right. So in any industry, there's a leader in that, just like we talked about leaders earlier. Well,
right.
If you want your son to learn hockey, there's a leader in that coaching industry, like someone that's got a school or a coach that's really had excellent results with some younger kids or whatever. So you want to, and use the internet as opposed to like looking at, cat videos or whatever people do, is use it for the right reasons. Find that person, find out the positive parts of things, so for me, social media every day for me is on a treadmill where I'm playing a book or something that I'm learning about the subject I'm interested in. So killing two birds with one stone, but do your research. It's all online now, right? So you can find anything you want out there. Just make sure you're finding what you're really looking for.
Yeah, and you can dig in on anybody.
Yes.
Nowadays, we're in business together, and what we'll do is, like, even whenever our vendors come in to sell us something, they're wanting us to sell a new product or whatever. We always ask for referrals. Okay, obviously this isn't the first time you're selling this product. We're not the only guys you're selling it to. Who's doing what you want me to do so that I can contact them to make sure that everything you're pitching to me is true? And I can be successful. And you don't pitch it to go, hey, you're BSing me and I want to make sure I'm going to check up on you. But you just go, who's doing it the best? Who's selling that product the best? Give me their number. Because anything that I'm selling, if a vendor wants to give up my number so that he can sell it to somebody else and I feel confident about the product, give them all my number, because I love talking about it. Anything that's good in my life or my business, I want to share it with everybody. And so a lot of people don't dig in, even on real estate deals.
Anything. You got to do your research, get educated, educate yourself. You got the internet in front of you. It's every single question in the world is right there, right?
Yeah.
Or every answer is right there. Just take the time and educate yourself. And you're responsible for your own actions. So you can't be, you got to, that's the thing about leaders. Figure it out. If you're a leader, then figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Right. That's a good answer. All right. So where can people find your short and long form content online? Where do you guys hang out?
Honestly, we're on all platforms. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts. Probably the best place to actually reach out would be to DM us on Instagram. And it's Mike&Bo. It's spelled out MikeAndBO. But another real simple way to reach out to us is to actually text us. So you can text us at 928-605-4335. And we'll get right back to you. And if it makes sense for anybody to get coached up on anything or interested in anything that we talk about, or you like our social media and you find value in it, DM us or text us and we'll get right back to you.
And we're not polished guys, we're
cowboys.
Cowboys. We graduated 4 miles away, but we're very disciplined and persistent and work hard, and we figured it out.
Yeah. No, you guys are you're the real deal. So team, to connect with Mike&Bo, and we'll have links to their Instagram at Mike&Bo and also their number for texting. That'll be on their show notes page at pyppodcast.com. And as we wrap things up today, I have a couple more questions. One, what are a couple of books that you would recommend that have been instrumental on your individual leadership journeys? Bo, why don't we start with you? What's one or two books that have really made a difference to you?
I would say one that I read at a young age was it's Stephen Covey book, but it's like the 7 Habits of Successful People. That was a big one for me. It's an old book, but a lot of people weren't talking about those things whenever I read that book, and social media wasn't out there at that time. So I just really resonated with it and realized a lot of the things he was saying about culture and people and communicating is huge, whether you're in business or not in business, whatever you want to achieve, it comes through communication and relationships.
Nice. And Mike, how about you?
I would say the standard book everyone needs to read is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's especially if you're just getting started, because it kind of puts you, it lets you pick which person you're going to be. And everyone kind of falls in those two categories. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then there's the victim. So don't get in that one, but,
don't be a victim.
yeah. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it kind of just gets your mind straight. Like, oh, okay, I get it. Like those feelings. Once I discovered that book, it just validated what I was already knew and what the direction I was going, but it made it like a little clearer for me. Like, okay, I get it. This is why I have those feelings. That's why I want to do this. And it made sense to me. So I recommend anybody read that one. And it kind of lets you figure out what and there's not those two personalities. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. It just lets you pick a little bit, like, oh, this is what I feel more comfortable with.
Right. It makes you aware that there are other options.
Yes, absolutely.
Bo, you grew up in an entrepreneurial family. Did you, Mike? Were your parents entrepreneurs?
I think Bo and I come from similar type backgrounds. I think our parents probably earned about the same amount of money and had the same, they both had independent small businesses that you work that job for 30 years and that's kind of your job and business. But I knew, and Bo and I talked, we both had bigger aspirations than our parents' business. I knew that one of anything wasn't going to work for me. One of any business I knew was not going to work. So I had my first video store. It was killing it. But I knew if the most money could ever bring, if I rented every movie every single night, it wasn't going to be enough.
Yeah.
I always wanted more. So I still want more. It's an itch you can't scratch.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. All right. So final question, and you can go in either order, but I'd love to hear from each of you. What do you want your leadership legacy to be?
Never thought about it. No.
That's fair.
No, mine is just take action and figure it out later. Take action. I mean, because so many people are stuck and they just don't take action. They just didn't do anything, and then years pass by and then it's in the rearview mirror. So my leadership is just do it. If you have those feelings, because most people don't have those feelings. Most people are comfortable playing Fortnite and eating pizza and gaining 50 pounds, in my opinion. honestly, look around.
I agree.
Those people are not looking for leadership answers and questions. They're trying to get home and do whatever they were doing. To me, Bo and I are trying to get out of the house as soon as we can and get to work.
I would say the big thing, I was a kid in the 80s and I always look back at business, and my dad was in a few different businesses. And my dad was probably a little bit more harder and shrewd than what I am. Well, by far, I know he was.
Mine too.
He's the type that he'd clear the desk whenever he got mad. And it was just an old school way. And I think a lot of people were like that were bosses and business owners. And I think my legacy at the end of the day is I want to teach people you don't have to be that. And you can make a lot of money and you can have a successful business and a good culture and you can make money and be a good person too. You don't have to be hard and shrewd and to get your way and make money.
I love it. Both. That's terrific. And I like the visual of clearing the desk.
Oh yeah, I saw it more than once.
I had an uncle that did the same thing. That was like, we've talked about this, kind of like an old school thing that was okay back then, or seemed like it. I mean, get mad, throw something. I mean, now today, what?
Right? No, exactly. And I was never the type to get mad or do that sort of thing. No. So when I was a young business owner, I always thought maybe I just don't have it. Maybe I should be that guy. But not that I ever cleared the desk, but like whenever I tried to get angry or do something, it was me faking it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I realized after doing it one time, that was about as uncomfortable as it gets. I ain't doing that ever again.
You're better off just trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
Well, I think you painted a picture here that, wow. The differences in generations, and also I think in culture. I think it's become okay for men, particularly, especially if you call yourselves cowboys. There's a whole ethos around being a cowboy. Cowboy is tough, independent, doesn't take anything from anybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's the path has opened up for both men and women, but particularly for men to not have to be the hard ass. To still win, right?
Absolutely.
So, 100%.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, guys, this has been a really great conversation. I hope that in talking today, you feel like you were able to articulate some things that maybe you haven't before, but you've painted such a great picture for all of us here at the Play Your Position podcast of what it takes to win at business, that it is not an overnight success. Self-awareness is key. Relationships are key. Knowing who you are and having fun. I mean, finding people that you can have fun with. It's clear the energy between the two of you is really positive and also professional. And I love that you model that for all of us. So thank you for your time today. And I wish you all the best moving forward.
Awesome. Appreciate you having us on.
Thank you very much.
Hey team, Mary Lou here. Who's number one in football changes from year to year. Fashion trends come and go, same with musical tastes. But leadership skills, they never go out of style. In fact, these days, leadership is an essential survival skill for a world that demands more from us than ever before. To succeed these days, you need to know how to show up for yourself so that you can then do the work you love with people you like the way you want. The Play Your Position Leadership Playbook helps you do this, and it's free. Go to pyppodcast.com to download your copy today. If being more successful this year, next year, in the 21st century is on your to-do list, get your copy of the Play Your Position Leadership Playbook now. pyppodcast.com. It's at the top of the page. You can't miss it. That's pyppodcast.com, and start being more of the leader you are meant to be today.
This podcast was produced by Daniel Romeros. Show notes for this episode can be found over at pyppodcast.com. I'm Mary Lou Kaiser. Thanks for listening.
Here at the Play Your Position podcast, we believe that the road to self-mastery and a life well lived starts with answering the call to leadership. That's when the fun really begins. Send this episode to any friends who might need to hear the inspiration and ideas you heard today. And feel free to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform.